Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is s8e3, part of SuperObvious. We are going to be talking about The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 3. The start of this episode, King Ezekiel is in the woods with Carol and a bunch of members of the kingdom. Ezekiel has a walkie-talkie that you can hear some noise coming from. I think it belongs to one of the saviors, but I don't exactly remember how he got it. There's a few shots of footage of all members walking their way through the woods when we hear a bunch of whistles that the saviors are known to do when they are close. When the kingdom and the saviors meet, the kingdom looks outnumbered with Ezekiel and Carol talking back and forth a little bit. Out of nowhere, a bunch of other kingdom members hop out of the bushes, shooting all the savior members. It's pretty intense. After the gunfight, the kingdom members seemed relieved and confident moving forward. We get to see Shiva for a little bit, which is always badass. And that's pretty much the start of the show while we see the Walking Dead credits. After the credits, we seem to pick up right where the last episode ended. Rick is held captive at gunpoint by Morales. He makes Rick put all his guns down, which he does. Then I assume we're going to hear Morales run his mouth a whole lot, which he does. Morales talks to Rick about his crew and bringing them to Negan. Like last episode, Morales explains more about how he knows the kind of person Rick is. I guess they go back because Rick knew who he was at the end of last episode, and Morales is recapping things that have happened. Next, we continue the gunfight outside of the Saviors compound that Rick and Daryl are in. We hear on the walkie-talkies for the Saviors to stop shooting. They turn their attention to the doorway of the compound where they shoot at others that are there. After that, we go to Aaron aiding his partner, whose name is Eric. He was previously shot towards the end of last episode. I believe it was in the stomach or somewhat chest area. Aaron says that his bullet wound went through, which is a good thing. Eric went super badass last episode, shooting at saviors and advancing towards them where he didn't even have anyone around him or much cover. It was probably his best airtime we have seen. Eric was like in savage mode, for reals. As soon as I see Aaron sitting Eric down against a tree, I'm predicting that Eric is going to die or will be dead very soon from his injury. Especially with the sad music and the type of talk they're having, it's pretty much like the goodbye forever talk. It's emotional and it sucks. The Walking Dead has a habit of a secondary or even a third level character getting more screen time than normal, and they end up dying. It happened with Olivia, it happened with Denise, and Eric seems next. Next scene, we have Tara, Morgan, Jesus, along with a bunch of members from the Hilltop community, taking all the saviors they captured from the Savior compound where the saviors surrendered from last episode. Morgan and Jesus have a talk pretty much further expressing their differences on what to do with the saviors. Morgan wants revenge, more of a eye for an eye type mentality, while Jesus is more lenient as far as what the saviors' punishment should be for the acts they have committed. This is interesting because if you remember, for the longest time, Morgan did not want to kill anyone, even if someone tried to kill him. He had the motto on how all life is precious, and other members of their crew thought he was crazy. I think Morgan is kind of a hint of a character who really tried to change and not let his environment change him, but it seems like it has changed Morgan because he wants to kill the saviors, for sure. Oh, on a funny note, all the saviors are tied up in lines and tied to a truck driving slow, making them walk a certain pace. It's kind of like if you ever seen a movie when someone gets like captured and they like handcuff them or tie them to like a treadmill to make them like run on the treadmill just to be an asshole. That's what they're doing. Oh man, this stuff is great. After that, we continue with Morales and Rick having more of their conversation, which starts to feel pretty intense. Morales is justifying why he is the way he is. Rick goes down a short list of the people that he has lost and also explains what Negan has done, including the brutal death of Glenn in front of Maggie. Next, we have our first what the fuck moment. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean WTF moment. Is that better? Out of nowhere, Daryl kills Morales with an arrow shot with no remorse, even though he says that he knew him. Rick seems shocked like he didn't want that to happen, or maybe talk to Morales more first. Rick and Daryl talk for a second while Rick gets all his weapons back together. Rick tells Daryl there are no weapons here, and they are about to leave when it sounds like an elevator is moving in the building. We transition back to where all the saviors are walking and being transported to the hilltop. We have a conversation with Morgan and the one long-haired guy that's a savior. I forget his name. He's the one that shot and killed the young kingdom member that Morgan was training. He keeps talking shit to Morgan, making him angry, where Morgan is about to turn and shoot the savior, where out of nowhere a whole bunch of walkers break through a gate from above. Some of the saviors get bitten by walkers, good for them. Other saviors stay with the hilltop since the hilltop is armed, and other saviors break and head into the woods where Morgan is in pursuit after them. Morgan catches up to the Saviors and just executes one of them out of nowhere. It looked like Morgan was going to keep shooting the Saviors, but he is stopped by Jesus, where they have a talk about what needs to be done as far as what should happen to the Saviors. Jesus is still trying to calm Morgan down and explain how we can find a way to have peace, and how Maggie will decide what to do with all the Saviors they've captured. Morgan seems compliant and calming down until Morgan pushes Jesus and swings his staff a few times at him. Jesus answers with a single jump kick in defense and in shock of Morgan really trying to fight him. Wow. We go back to Carol and King Ezekiel with members of the kingdom, where he explains her defeat over the Saviors from earlier in the episode. They invade this building, and not too long after that we see a bunch of Saviors running, and the kingdom kind of redo their pop-up surprise and open up a shitload of gunfire on Saviors, shooting all of them. Like, they shoot all of them. They're all dead. We go back to Morgan fighting Jesus. Morgan seems very frustrated while Jesus is trying to defuse the situation even though he's being attacked. Wow. I think this is some of the most that we've seen from Jesus showing off his martial arts abilities. Jesus has really quick reflexes and pretty much dodges and counterattacks everything Morgan does trying to attack him. Every time Jesus hits Morgan, Morgan falls back to collect himself, and you can tell Jesus is just defending himself because there's several times Jesus could follow up with attacking him, but he does not. Morgan hits Jesus a few times with a staff and tries to stab Jesus while he's on the ground. I did not like that. We go back to Rick and Daryl still getting shot at in the Savior compound. Rick shoots a fire extinguisher, making a little time for Daryl to make it across the hall where he is. Aaron and others are on the floor and all link back up. This was a pretty quick segment. Next we go to, I believe it's the third part of the fight scene with Jesus and Morgan. I'm actually surprised the fight has gone this long, in a good way. The fight gets to a point where Jesus seems like he is tired of being on the defense and quickly hits Morgan a few times and taking his staff with minimal effort. Wow. A little after that, Tara with a few other members are seen approaching them in the woods. Jesus asks if the fight is over and tosses Morgan his staff back, and almost immediately, Morgan thrusts the staff about an inch from stabbing Jesus in the throat, which could have fucking killed him. For sure. It was very intense, and I did not like that about Morgan either. Morgan admits he isn't right and has issues, and he leaves. After that, we transfer to the hilltop, which could be the payoff of what we have been waiting for this episode, with all the Saviors being delivered. But, no, it's the bitch. Gregory. He is trying to enter the hilltop, which Maggie denies him of doing. Gregory tries to explain or justify his actions of being with Negan last episode, where he betrayed and threatened everyone to be kicked out of the hilltop. We go to Tara and Jesus, along with all the Saviors at the hilltop, and they talk with Maggie on what they are going to do with them. Jesus doesn't want to kill the Saviors. Pretty much everybody else wants to kill the Saviors. It's like, revenge, bitch, you killed us, now we're going to kill you, and that's going to do it. But for real, this is a big moment because we've been pretty much waiting for a situation where the Saviors are at mercy and some type of revenge could come back to them. We've been waiting for this since the end of season 6. It's a big deal. We go back to Rick and Daryl, along with a bunch of others, cleaning up the Savior compound, organizing all the bodies, and making sure certain dead people won't turn. Rick is taking a bunch of Polaroid pics of dead Saviors and also taking notes on something that we do not know. At least I don't fucking know. He's writing something. I don't know if it's for someone or if it's a reminder to himself. I have no idea. Maybe we'll find that out later. We have a moment where Aaron goes back to the tree where Eric was. You see Eric's rifle and all his blood on the tree he was laying against. Aaron gets emotional, and after looking out to a field, he can see Eric has turned to a walker and is walking towards a bunch of other walkers in the distance. It is emotional and sad as fuck, I swear. And just when we think the episode is coming to a somewhat okay ending, with everything considered, Rick and Daryl are randomly attacked by someone. After negotiating, the person comes out to talk. He gives Rick info, and Daryl kills him after they agreed they wouldn't. Rick looks shocked, and this is the second time that Daryl has just killed someone without hesitation at all. It's kind of not like him. I think this is a hint at something that could mean more as the season progresses. We have King Ezekiel along with the kingdom members. They are in a field where they have killed all the Saviors. Everything seems okay and in balance, where out of nowhere, King Ezekiel notices something last second and all of the kingdom members get shot the hell up out of nowhere. And the episode ends right there. Oh my god. I think this episode was really good. Even the previous episodes. This whole season so far has been really good. I knew we weren't going to see Negan. We only see him every once in a while. We have not seen Carl. We have not seen Michonne. We have not seen Rosita. We have not seen Father Gabriel, which they teased that he could have died. So we haven't seen a couple of episodes, but that's how the show usually goes. They're broken off into several groups, and we don't see a single member every single episode. I kind of like how they do that. But I think the best part of the episode was the fight with Jesus and Morgan. That had to be the coolest part, especially since it was as long. That was definitely surprising. But I'm looking forward to the next episode. This is B-Diz, the Rockstar, a part of SuperObvious. All the information to subscribe will be below, and I will see you guys in the next episode.